Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you to our panelists and employees for joining us here today, both in person and over the webinar. Let me deal with that. That was really good timing. All right, so just a few ground rules for today. Please make sure to use a microphone when you're speaking so that our webinar participants can hear you. This session is also being recorded as a learning opportunity for those who couldn't join us today, and the recording uses the mic. So please just make sure that you're using the mic when you speak. So today we are recognizing and honoring National Hispanic Heritage Month, which runs from September 15th to October 15th. Originally a one-week celebration. And Chris, you may just want to watch muting your volume there as much as possible because we can't hear it come through. Thanks. Originally, a one-week celebration is expanded to 30 days under President Ronald Reagan. September 15th was chosen as the starting day because it is the anniversary of the independence of 5 countries in Latin America: Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, who all became independent from Spain in 1821. In addition, Mexico, Chile, and Belize celebrate their Independence Days on September 16th, 18th, and 21st, respectively. So Hispanic Heritage Month again goes September 15 to October 15. This year's theme for the month is Hispanics, One Endless Voice to Enhance Our Traditions, which invites us to reflect on Hispanic and Latino Americans' traditions, histories, and cultures. Thank you again to all our panelists for joining us today. For each of you, please introduce yourself with the mic and with your name and a few sentences describing your role here at the Employment Department. And we will go ahead and start with Alan for this first part, go down the line, and then come back to Chris, who's joining us on the webinar.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alan Martinez, and I'm the Migrant and Seasonal Farm Worker Rep for the WorkSource Salem office. And I've been with the agency, I've been about six years.
Hello, this is Armando Nunez, and I'm working in Beaverton Contact Center, and I've been with the agency for over 15 years.
And hello, my name is Isabel Jocelyn, and I'm the Unemployment Insurance Deputy Division Director for Unemployment Tax. So basically what I do is I collect the money so we can pay the benefits to our claimants. I've been here with the agency for about 6.5 years, but I've been with in the state system for about 30 years now. So.
And Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris, and I work in the Ontario office. Have been here for 26 years. So I'm also the Migrant and Seasonal Farm Worker representative. And so I deal with us all the time. So I was very honored to be asked to speak.
Thank you. I think it's our honor to be able to hear from some of our own employees about what this month might mean to them and what they might like to share with their colleagues. So we'll start off with a few questions for the panelists and then move into some questions from the audience as well. We'll be here till 1 o'clock. So thank you for your introductions. And reflecting on this month's theme, let's start off with, what does Hispanic heritage mean to you? Whether in terms of how you grew up, how you preserve culture, or in some other way. And we'll let's start with Isabel, who has the mic.
Look out. So the first word that comes into mind when you talk about the heritage of our culture is family. Everything revolves around family. Personally, in Peru, what my very happy memories are all around the weekends, because everybody worked during the week. We did work during the week, and so family coming over and gatherings, laughing, eating is a big thing. But that's basically what to me is being from the Hispanic culture. In the U.S. here, when I moved here about over 33 years ago now, it was a little bit of a difference because it's a little bit different. The culture is a little bit different, and I didn't have all my cousins and aunts and uncles, so the gatherings on the weekends were very, very small, just to my immediate family, which my mom and my sisters. So that's what it is for me.
Thank you, Isabel.
Okay, so for me, the Hispanic heritage is it means a lot to me. Is the person that I am right now, and this is based on family values and work ethic, uh, good food, festivities, colorful festivities. Uh, yeah, that's what make a person being part of different cultures from uh, Aztec to Europe and Africans. So that's why we have all these relations with the food, the colors, and the music, mariachis. Uh, and family is one of the biggest thing that move our Hispanic culture. We are trying to be united on every aspect and support each other. It's a lot more, but I'll say the rest.
So Hispanic Heritage Month, you know, it represents, you know, familia, you know, the family. I know that, you know, in the Latino Hispanic culture, you know, la familia is big. It's you know, very important. I know that when I was growing up, um, you know, when I would get home from school and, you know, see my parents work, you know, long hours in the fields. At the end of the day, just, you know, being close to my family, familia, made a big difference. And having their support. And it's not only la familia, you know, with like relatives, but it's also the community. You know, I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate to have grown in a, you know, Latino community in Woodburn, and I've seen, you know, how connected we are. And one of my experiences that I had was when I left Woodburn for the first time to go to school at the University of Idaho at Moscow. So that was a big change for me. And when I was in Moscow, Idaho for, you know, 4 years, I really miss, you know, mi comunidad, my community, because it was really different. You know, me being away from Woodburn, you know, going to a town where, you know, 90% Caucasian, and you know, having very few Latinos, and, you know, not seeing signs in Spanish, it made me miss my hometown. But it's about family. It's also about, you know, the end of years of hard work. And I'm never gonna forget something that me and my college mates, we were all Latino. One day we were eating at one of the houses that we were renting, and we were sitting and, you know, making spaghetti. And I remember one of my friends, that I met, he's from Nampa, Idaho, and other ones were from Caldwell, you know, Hermiston. And even though we were from, you know, different parts of the U.S., we were all Latinos. And I remember one of them saying, you know, los papás vieron acá, so we got to take advantage of this. Meaning, you know, our parents worked really hard, so this is our only opportunity to succeed. And, you know, we had that mentality. Because a lot of us, you know, we came from the fields.
Thank you so much. And I did see a request just to name the presenters again for those just joining us. So we have Isabel Jocelyn, Deputy Division Director for UI Tax, Armando Nunez from our Beaverton Contact Center in Unemployment Insurance, Alan Martinez from WorkSource Salem, and Chris Grace from WorkSource Ontario. And Chris, it is your turn.
All right. So I think about Hispanic Heritage Month, not just this month, it's every day, 365 days a year. And I remember hearing these clicking sounds. Do you hear that clicking?
We do.
When I was a child, that clicking knew, oh, I'd smell amazing smells. 4 o'clock in the morning, and that my mother was in the kitchen making tortillas and getting ready for the day. Those things all represent history for me. And I remember migrating to Southern California to go work tomato machines as a kid. And I always heard that clicking sound because my mother, it didn't matter where we were, was always in the kitchen at 4 o'clock in the morning making the tortillas, which was like full for us, right? All of our foods. And so it brings back a lot of memories for me, really proud memories. My parents instilled in me and in all of my siblings a really good work ethic. And, you know, when we talk about cultures, it's a shared belief, values, assumptions, behaviors, those kinds of things. And so I believe for most Latinos, we have that of family. I said familia. Foods, tortillas. And so those are the things that I think about. And what's very interesting is I'm teaching those same things to my children. So while I don't get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, everybody, get up more like at 5, they do hear the clicking in the kitchen. And they know, you're getting up pretty soon. And I love when children post in social media about familia, those words. Makes me pretty proud. So, and then another thing I want to share is when we used to go to California, my father had the first contract with UC Davis to work out in the field for them. And my father was a farm labor contractor, so he'd bring like 300 people with him from Oregon to go work down in Southern California in Sacramento, Davis area. I can remember the clicking of that sound again as my mother was in the kitchen and fixing something to eat for Cesar Chavez because he was in the middle of talks with his father. And one of the biggest things that I can reflect on was, because I heard my dad say he's a very nice young man, but he probably won't amount to much. So, you know, God rest his soul, my father passed away 5 years ago, but I had a conversation with him about that, and I said, what about that thing you said with Cesar Chavez? Yeah, you were kind of off. Share that with you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of you for sharing just a small piece of what Hispanic heritage may mean to you. Chris, I want to come back to you. You said earlier, you've been with the agency for over 26 years. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What can you tell us about changes that you've seen in the Ontario area that you're in terms of the Hispanic community?
So what I've noticed, while we don't have the traditional migration anymore, there are some families that still migrate, but not that many. There's a lot of Latinos in this area that have acclimated to here, staying here, taking their children to college. They are working a little bit in the field. Those children that are going to college, by the way, maybe a little bit during the summer when they're not in school. And what I've noticed is there's the same sense is still there of unity, of gatherings. In fact, in Ontario, we just had a farm worker celebration day through OHD, and they had probably about 400 or 500 people that showed up to that. And while I didn't man one particular booth, because I was working the crowd, that's what I do, and wonderful because that whole sense was there. You know, all the families, the department joined in and dancing and festivities, and we also have a group that's called Uvalcre. It's a for Latino families to go to, as well as refugees. And so one of the things that I've noticed, that the family ties, the community ties, those are very strong and still in the community. And while maybe people aren't migrating, they're still here. They haven't left, and we have a huge community here. So, and in the 26 years, I should add that 15 years of that was time. So for me, although I just celebrated 26 years working for this agency, Inc. is an amazing agency. That's why it's gone by so fast. I just can't believe it. I have noticed there's more mechanization out in the field, so to speak, and so you don't see the large numbers, although the season, you know, when they corn detassel over here, you can see 300 people in the field in one day. So that's kind of neat. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Right. So let's take a turn now with one of our employees from Unemployment Insurance, Armando. Armando, how do you feel your perspective as someone of Hispanic heritage has contributed to the department's mission to support business and promote employment?
Well,
Oh, and Armando, if you could hold the mic. There you go.
before I became aboard to the OED, I worked in the private sector for a little bit over 20 years. Half of those years was in the management field, and when OED when I got the job with the employment department, so I got the easiest job of my life. It's just like connect employees to employers. And I know all those areas, all the facts, what do they need. So it was, that's been the easy job I haven't done in my life. And what I have contributed to the community is make that connection, don't feel that fair to the new technology we're dealing with, and start teaching them little by little, introduce them to the new technology we're going through, and I think we are accomplishing this process little by little. Still need more to work, but I guess we were there, and I guess that's what I have brought to the employment department, just connection between employers, Latino communities, even other communities in general. But yeah, I feel like I've been helping through that process to our community, and I've been working on the UI side, and most of the time I deal with them, with our community, and just give them make them feel that they are speaking with someone like them, and I make them feel that that I understand them, and I understand the barriers they're going through. So I kind of go through that first, make them feel comfortable, and it is working so far.
Thank you.
Answer your question?
Yes, hopefully everyone could hear. It's a little hard with the mic. But thank you, Armando. And we can come back if you think of more things too. So it's all good. Alan, you mentioned earlier you had a career path that started at 8 or 9 years old. And that led to you being the first college student in your family. So can you share some of the supports and opportunities that you found most helpful on your journey?
So yes, like Teresa had mentioned, I started working at a very young age in the fields, 8 or 9. Remember when my family moved here from California, I started working in strawberry fields. And I remember one incident that happened to me that I'm never gonna forget. When I was picking strawberries, I remember I was 9, and I ate one of the strawberries in the field. And I don't know, I had some white stuff in there, and I remember I got really sick. And my parents ended up taking me to the hospital. And then my dad told me in Spanish, ¿ves? ¿Por qué te comes la fresa? Ahora de lo que ganamos, vas a ir para el hospital. Meaning that, all the earnings that they were going to get that day was going to be for, hospital bill. So I remember something I'm never going to forget, but, but it's incidents like that, taught me, how at a very young age, the tenacity of being responsible, having responsibility, and also, understanding the sacrifices that are made, just like, thousands of families that have come here, in the many years. And when I was in high school, I remember that they had this really good program, and they still have at Woodford High School, and throughout all over the state. It's called the Migrant Education Program, and that changed my life. Because I remember when I was in high school, my dream was to go into the Air Force, and I remember that I already had plans already to go into the Air Force. I remember my senior year, I had passed some of the physicals, and I did like an aptitude test, and I did really well. So I was committed to go into the Air Force and hopefully go out of the country. But thanks to the migrant education program, there's a lady, and she still works at the Woodford School District. Her name is Maggie Vasquez, and she's a migrant education coordinator. And she invited me to attend this program. That's a 2-week program at Linfield College. And it was the Oregon Hispanic and Migrant Student Leadership Institute. So I stayed at the college for 2 weeks, and during that time, we did different activities, getting to know what life was, and in college. And I had the chance to meet one of the recruiters from the College Assistance Migrant Program. His name is Glenn Galindo, and he was at that time the camp recruiter at the University of Idaho. So I remember that 2 weeks before my close to my senior year, I kept getting calls from this guy, Glenn. He kept bothering me. He says, "Hey, trying to convince me, not to go into the Air Force." And he says, "Hey, you sure you want to go in there? They're gonna send you to, Afghanistan, and are you really sure about this?" And then he wanted to speak to my parents, and I didn't want him to talk to my parents because I know he would, change my plans. So he insisted, and one day he got a hold of my dad. He says, this is what Alan wants to do, and he doesn't want to. I told him about a good opportunity to come here. He'll get the camp scholarship, and based on his grades, he has a really good probability of going into school, at the University of Idaho. So I remember that it was I think it was August of 2004, and I still hadn't made my decision. And the Air Force recruiter kept calling me, and Glenn. And then one night I made my decision. It was my mom. My mom was crying. I remember she said, "Mijo, I don't want you to leave." And I told my mom, "Well, I'm gonna have to leave, Mom. I made that decision already." And I remember it was a Friday morning. Because I was awake all night, and I called Glenn and I told him, "Hey, Glenn, I made my decision. I'll go to the University of Idaho." And he was really happy, and they brought me over there. And it's those opportunities, it all started with the migrant education program, then the college assistance migrant program, and that's the reason why I'm here. Or else I would have been, who knows, in Germany or Japan. Yeah.
Well, we're glad you're here for sure. All right. Thank you so much. I think it's so incredible to hear how even one person can change someone's life. And I like to think that those one people are oftentimes our own employees, because we're serving the public so much, and just giving them that one snippet of information can make so much difference and get Alan right here in our agency. So thank you. All right, and passing it down to Isabel, our Division Deputy Director for UI Tax. What lessons and opportunities can you share with those who are interested in getting into management?
Well, the short version will be, because some of you who know me, I can go forever. Um, but I will say is you just need to work very hard. And that's one. And the second is you need to make sure that once you set your goal, that you talk to people to see how you can reach that goal. Because sometimes, especially coming to the US with not knowing how to speak English, and I can tell you stories, and I'm going to tell you one because I think it's really funny now that I look back. But I went to the Portland Community College to learn how to speak English. When I came to the US, I came from my sister's wedding. And so they sent us with my mom and my sister, and we came with cards, that says, where are the bathrooms, right? Because we didn't know. We didn't know there were going to be people in the airports that are going to help us, if we didn't speak English. Anyway, we made it to Portland. And but I did not know how to speak English, and so I went to college. I went to Portland Community College, and I took the bus. And I live very close to the community college, less than 2 miles. But I took the bus because I came on September 13, 1983. It was a beautiful weather, but it was cold like now. Right? I mean, it's like the sun is out, so you go out with your short sleeves, and it's like, anyway, I took the bus. And I will sit in the front of the bus, hanging, the buses, you have that long seat, and there is the driver. I was so scared to sit anywhere else but close to the driver, because that's where my safety feeling was. So I will sit right there, and they were amazing. The bus drivers were amazing. They kept talking to me. And you know what I did? I just have a good day. And I ran out of the bus. And so, very quickly I learned, okay, English is the number one that I need to learn. And two is like, what do I really want to do here? So in Peru, I was very fortunate. I was in the banking industry. I was managing a branch of a commercial bank. So when I came here, the first thing that I thought is, I know banking inside out. Rules are different, right? Because it's a different country. So I went in, and as soon as I felt comfortable, and there were several jobs in between with its own stories, each of them, but I'm not going to tell you all my stories because we'll be here all day. But I went and I said, I feel comfortable speaking English now, so I want to go and I'm going to get a job where I feel that I know, right? Counting money, I can still count money. So I went in and I interviewed for Far West Federal Bank, the West Burnside branch, and Cindy was the recruiting manager. And so I talked to her. She looked at my resume and she said, well, you're overqualified for a teller position. And I said, I may be, but this is a different country. There's a different rules, and I really want to start from scratch, and I just want an opportunity. If you see me in a month from now that I'm not doing what you want me to do, please let me go. But that's the only thing I want, just an opportunity. 33 years later, I'm here. And so I am the kind of person that I like to learn from the ground out. So I started here, and I'm here, but not without effort, not without a lot of work, not without getting to know the right people, and those people that you don't think that are really nice to you, you have a choice to hang out with them, right? And so I have never let me being from a different country, me having an accent, influence what I do. Because this is what you see is what you get. And so, that's what I will say. And that's what I tell my children. It's just you need to work really hard. You need to be true to yourself. You need to be respectful to people. Get to treat everybody like you would treat yourself, And that's what you need to do. And work habits are really important. Because people, if you set your goal and you are true to yourself and you are everything that I just said, people will notice you. And people will say, hey, she has potential. And that's what really got me going. I had really nice people through my career. I started with the state at Fish and Wildlife, with people that really noticed me and really took me under their wing, and they trained me, and every opportunity that I got, I learned something new. every opportunity that they tell me, would you like to learn that? Hey, yes, when? And that's what it takes, regardless of where you come from. Either you are a foreigner, you're American, from everywhere. That's what you want to do, that's what you need to do. And then what I really like and that I try to do it is payback. Is to me is they help me a lot, so I want to help people too. And we are very fortunate to have a wonderful about 100 people in the tax program, and we're working very hard to build an environment where people feel welcome, to get to know people. I usually try to get to know people because I need to understand what they're going through or what they don't have, so I can help them. So having a stop by and laugh with them, and some people say I laugh a lot because I do. But that's the kind of environment that I like to be in, where people feel comfortable talking, regardless of your rank, because after all, once you leave this building, guess what? My title stays here. What you see outside is me. And so what you see outside is what you're going to see here. You just add the title back, But so that's my recommendation or my thoughts about that.
Thank you so much, Isabel. By the way, a lot of state agencies are working very hard on succession planning, getting the next generation of workers into state government. And I'm really glad to see we have a very young worker in the back, a new state employee. I'm so glad that this is a family event. Thank you for coming. All right. So I'd like to open up the next questions to any panelists who would like to answer. And then we'll take some questions from the audience, including our webinar attendees. So if you're on the webinar, you may want to start typing in your questions now, and our staff in the back will read them out as we pause for those questions. So for any panelist, what do you think are some best practices that we all can be more aware of in building trust with our Hispanic customers?
But for me,
Go ahead, Isabel.
I don't have a lot of contact with our Hispanic community at work. Very limited. Usually I had maybe 2 or 3 employers that I had talked to, either because they had, so how many of you know what UI tax is? Okay, so we collect money, right? We do audits, right? How many people like being audited? Right? So when we do audits, thank you, John. Sometimes our employers are not really happy with the results of the audit. And so they call and they want to express their concerns. And they go and they talk to the auditors. But there have been very few, 3 that I can count in 6.5 years, where the employer didn't speak English. And so what they did is they came to me and I talked to them, right? And we resolved the issue. They were okay. They understood. But I think that for me, talking to those employers is to treat them with respect, right? To try to understand that we do have different customs. And I'm going to give you a really good one for me personally. This is not everybody. But to me, when I came to the U.S., I talked with my hands. And some of you have been with me in the meetings, and I talk with my hands. I also touch with my hands. So when I talk to people, I am touching people. So tell me how you're doing. Really, and when you come, in Peru, I kiss people. You go in and you're kissing the chick. How you doing? Boom, a kiss in there. So, coming here, I had to break that because you cannot do that. If not, Cheryl will be at my door. Say, what are you doing, right? And so trying to understand those differences, that if you're talking to somebody that you believe that is an individual from a different culture, don't jump into the negative side. Oh my gosh, she's so fresh and she's so, my personal bubble, she's cross. I mean, I didn't do it because I wanted to offend you or I wanted to be, not respectful of you. I did it because that was me then. I don't do it now. but trying to understand where people are coming from, try to be respectful of that, being honest with people to say, Isabel, I just love the way you talk or the way you touch, but I feel uncomfortable with that. And I will be okay because if you tell me, I won't do it again. I will respect it, right? So I think that just trying to be understanding of where people come from. And not just people from other countries, people among us, people that are from here. Each one of us have a different, culture and a different customs, and so just trying to learn that, trying to understand and being respectful, and don't, just always look for good intent. Don't let things, bubble in. So just ask, and then I think you will be building a lot of relationships, good relationships with people. So. Anyway, sorry if I'm too long.
That was great, Isabel. Thank you. Any other panelists would like to weigh in on that?
Would you repeat the question?
Yes. So, what do you think are some best practices in building trust with our Hispanic customers? Thank you, Armando, for your patience with me.
Yeah, okay. See, Hispanic, we are a little bit conservatives on expressing things, and I guess one of the methods that can help, or it helped me, just give trust to the people, believe on them, give them trust, make them believe on themselves, and do not put pressure on it. Because pressure is like, oh, what is this stuff? Is just make them comfortable. Trust. I think that will be a way to help a little bit.
Thank you. And I want to check in with Chris Grace. And feel free to pass, but I don't want to skip you since you're on the webinar.
No, I was going to say I'm kind of touchy that way too. I'm touchy-feely, and I just have learned after cut it off. Don't go hugging people at work unless somebody died. Then that's even then you have to ask permission. But I think in our culture we're warm-friendly culture. So what I have found that's helped me, customers either come through the door or I'm out doing outreach, is to meet people where they're at. So you have to be aware of environment of we're getting into, whether it's in the work or their homes or their vehicles on a break. You just have to be able to read people and then just meet them where they're at, be friendly. I think building trust is what we do. We build relationships. We're good at it. And that's when people trust us and they come to us with all predicaments, what have you. And again, just having that radar on, when trying not to hug the whole world, because I tend to be like that too. So I could associate with what she was saying, our other speaker.
Thank you. And Alan, any final thoughts on that one?
Like what Chris had mentioned, trust, it's really big, in the Latino community, especially during the times that we're going through right now because of immigration. I work as I'm the MSFW rep, the migrant seasonal farm worker representative, and when I'm doing outreach out in the fields, conducting presentations, whether it's in the nurseries, the vineyards, schools, community events that we go to, when the folks see you speak Spanish, they relate to you, and you start talking to them about your experiences and where you come from. A lot of them are open, and it opens that Pandora box, and they become more trustful of you. So having that, and I know as an MSW rep, that's one of the requirements. Being bilingual, and also having that agricultural experience is really valuable because that's a fundamental when you're going and talking to migrant seasonal farm worker community and also the Latino community overall.
Thank you. I think we're going to take a few questions from the audience, and I do see one interesting question so far up on the chat, and there might be some others that have been sent in to the back room, but I'll start with this one. So the question is, what is the process for migrant, I'm assuming migrant seasonal farm workers, to become permanent residents? Is it the same for any person, or is it different if you're a migrant seasonal farm worker? And it's okay if you don't know the answer, because I know that that is not our expertise, but if anyone does know the answer, feel free to chime in.
I would say that what they need to do is either talk to somebody, a lawyer that works, so that they can become residents, that it is a process, and they have to go through a lawyer to do that. So I would defer to them. Go talk to a lawyer, Oregon Law Center. Usually they'll have somebody that works in immigration, and then they go through those steps. And it can be, I know that right now that's kind of a hot topic, and we don't want to really touch much on that, just because of the political climate. I've known I've known a lot of folks that have become permanent residents who weren't documented workers. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it's always fine to refer to legal advice too, right? Because we can't give legal advice from the agency, but it's helpful to share your experiences as well. So thank you. I'm going to go ahead and take a few questions if we have any from the audience here, but just wait for me to bring the mic to you. Does anyone have any questions yet? Because I have plenty more. So I'll come back. Hey, Ken. By the way, I do want to thank our outside of the employment department agency guests who are here today. We have some folks from the Watershed Enhancement Board and state police, lots of different folks joining us, and I want to thank them for spending time.
Thank you. I had a question, and maybe just have you guys share some experiences just around the sport of football, and we call it soccer here in America, and just how important that is to your culture, and maybe some stories, or just you guys talk about family, familia, and how that relates.
Now he's ready.
Yeah. I can answer that question. I mean, be part of Latino. That is not just food. It's just not colorful. It's just not work ethic. There is so many more. There is the school. There is the sports that we are so passionate to sport. And I can tell you, I play soccer for what was since I was 14 up to 42. So I play a little bit decent somewhere. And but to answer that question, we have a lot of stuff going on. We celebrate everything. You know that, right? We celebrate every single thing, and not like she was saying. Our culture is like to use like a weekends to get together and have a good time. Does that answer your question, or?
I just wanted to hear, I know it's very important to your culture, the sport, and just that sort of, the depth to the culture.
Even though we continue with those cultures in this country, I remember back in 1986, before we had the World Cup in the United States, one of my coworkers, he was into football. And he used to carry this, those magazines, Sport Illustrated. So he got all that, and I told him this, in a couple of years, you're going to see football, soccer on those magazines. So we were still working when that happened. They said, okay, here is your book, here is your book, here is your book. That is Maradona right there. And that's when things start changing more in the United States about that sport. Mentality started changing at that point when we had the World Cup in here. And we do. I'm a part of one team in my county. We've been champs for like 5 years straight. So, yeah, we are pretty good.
We may have to start up an agency league. All right.
Can I throw something in?
Yes, Chris.
Say that, because you have American football and then you have football, which is European and everywhere else. It's a big deal. I went to a live and in-color game in Honduras, and my mouth was like this. Ah! Amazing. More people than at a professional football game. American. Couldn't believe it. The electricity is amazing, and seeing the players is too. Fast sport.
Great. Not seeing any hands. Oh, there's one. So this one's for Alan. You mentioned that as you were finishing high school, that you were, you were looking at your options, and you told your mom, "Look, I'm going to leave," and yet you're back here now. What brought you back?
So it was a long journey, because after I finished, my undergrad, I graduated during the time of the recession. So it was really difficult finding work. I remember that I ended up working as a dishwasher at a retirement home here in Woodburn, because I came back to Woodburn, and I was working at the Cascade Park Retirement Center, and I was washing dishes, and I had kind of like one of the questions that I answered before, having those that support. Well, I met a gentleman. His name was Luis Martinez, and he was a coordinator at the retirement home, and then a position came open for Wells Fargo, and he said, "Hey, you might want to look at something else." And I remember he provided that support, and I was kind of hesitant about it, and wasn't sure, and that's then an opportunity came up in Eugene as a bilingual business employment specialist. And I ended up applying, and fortunately, I got the opportunity. But before that, I was actually living in Oklahoma too. I was living in Oklahoma City, and that was during the time of the recession, right after 2010. And I was doing roofing. I was working at a warehouse, and it was really, because I didn't have too many options. And during that time, it was really hard to get a job, even with having especially not having experience, no work experience, it made it really difficult. So I ended up doing those side jobs, and I didn't like Oklahoma because it was flat. It was like a desert, and nothing compared to Oregon, So, and then the summer was really hot too. It was like 109, and the humidity. So I kind of missed like the pine trees, the rain. So I came back to Oregon, and I'm here now. That's and then going back to one of the questions, the gentleman mentioned about Latinos. Football is big. Soccer is huge, especially Woodburn. We've won so many state championships in the past. Yeah, and we'd probably beat his team too. Yeah. Yeah. No. One of the things about Woodburn, though, because I played soccer in Woodburn. And, we have, the Latinos, the Russians, the Somalis, we all get together. We make really good competitive teams. But, folks that have never been to a Woodburn game, you're going to see, it's the diversity there. So if you ever have a chance, I'll invite you to go to one of the games at the Woodburn High School. You'll see, the connection in the community. Yeah, especially soccer, man, it's huge.
Thank you. Chris, did you see this question come in through the chat?
Yes, I did. About the human trafficking?
Yes.
Yes, I did see that.
Would you like to try on that one, or should we follow up individually later?
No, just really quickly, what I was going to say is I know that every area has a task force. Mm-hmm. I know that through Project Dove, which is for women. In fact, this morning at my farm local resource, they spoke about it. So the process would be for, if something like that's going on, first we would let them, the project dev in my area would let them know, and then they would follow up through the.
Thank you. And the question was, does the Employment Department have a process in place for reports or signs of human trafficking of migrant seasonal farm workers? A great question, for sure.
That's a good question, and Fernando Gutierrez would probably be a better one to answer that, because I know that for the first time this year, a little bit of training in it.
And Fernando, is there anything you'd like to add? I can bring you the mic. You're good.
I'm a member of the Oregon Commission on Civil Rights, and a couple of months ago, the whole group got together and put on some forums on human trafficking, and my part was the human trafficking of migrant seasonal farm workers. It's alive and well, it's just like everything else, and we do have a task force, though, in Portland, that if we run into any issues, we could report it to. So, that group gets trafficked because of their undocumentation a lot of the time. So that's the way they get exploited, and not realizing that the wage and hour rights, civil rights, human rights protect everybody, but that group is kept in the dark, and that's the way they keep hold of them. So if you need any more info, you can always get a hold of me.
Thank you. And that was Fernando Gutierrez, our state monitor advocate. So we are wrapping up now, but before I ask the panelists to share maybe one final takeaway they'd like the audience to take with them, whether geared to audience members who are of Hispanic descent or are not of Hispanic descent, I do want to acknowledge the Equity and Inclusion Council members. The Equity and Inclusion Council is a 12-member employee group at the Employment Department, tasked with providing advice and counsel and ideas to the executive team on the agency's equity and inclusion initiatives. So if the members in attendance today could please stand up and be acknowledged for your work. Thank you so much. We have Alex Kasner, Ron Sonry, Jay Vanderin, and Pamela Slinker. And then in the back we have Kara Tricarco and Shauna Sykes running the webinar. Thank you. And Legislative Affairs and Communications, who are responsible for recording the event. So I want to thank everyone involved with putting this together, and especially our panelists. One quick takeaway from each of you. What would you like people to remember from today or to think about going forward?
So one of the things that I really want to mention is, as a Latino, and I remember this when I was growing up. My mom would get appointments from the doctor, or she'd get appointments to complete her welcome process at the local workforce center. And I know for her, it was really difficult, because, in a lot of the Latino countries, it's really hard to follow appointments. And I know that my mom, and I met, and even the migrant seasonal farm workers that come into the office, I schedule them and I'll tell them, hey, I want to help you with the resume. Let's meet here at 11. And then they show up at 4 or 3 in the afternoon. But it's not, it's not that they're not being responsible or they forgot. No, it's just it's a culture, it's a lot of flexibility with them. And so, and I know that when I schedule them on a certain date, I know that I'm going to have the whole day open. So they come in, I'm going to be able to help them, yeah. And I remember one day my mom went to the workforce center, and I remember that she had to complete the welcome process. And she got there like at 4:50, I think. So I told my mom, hey, Mom, I think we got to go back because I don't think we're going to finish this in less than 10 minutes,
Okay, I will say that you guys can take from here is I see a lot of familiar faces. So most of you work on this agency. I just appreciate that you guys here, and if you guys have any ones that have any questions or anything for you size or tax, we're here to help. That's our mission.
Um, one thing. I know, Teresa. Um, well, I think that I've mentioned before. I think that regardless if you're Hispanic or non-Hispanic, right, or any other race or color, culture, background, is that just remember that we're all humans and that we just need to be respectful of each other and try to help each other and hopefully build positive, good experiences that many years later we will remember and say, hey, I remember that, and so that's what I would say.
Thank you. And Chris, last thoughts?
Couple of things. The first thing I want to say is that culture matters, and always meet people where they're at. And the other thing is it would be awesome if the state agency recognized that Latinos can be late. Can we come in at 9?
We'll get back to you on that. Well, I want to thank everyone again for spending time with us today, especially to the panelists for sharing, again, a very small part of their stories, but we really appreciate it. And I hope this has hopefully sparked some more conversations and some things that you want to take home and learn more about as well. Thank you all again. Want to be respectful of your time. It's 1 o'clock, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And don't miss our next one.